Hi guys, welcome to part two of This is Bullshit. We are going through the Alberta Prosperity Project's handbook that they're using to do Alberta separation or support Alberta separation. And we're calling out the bullshit. I'm Linda Walker. This is Tammy with Alberta Resistance. And welcome to the show, Tammy. Thank you for co-hosting with me, and I'm going to let you get right back into it.
Okay, so we stopped at this page here, which
Hmm.
is talking about lower personal taxes, reduced pension contributions. And I didn't really say this, but one of the things that we need to be aware of, if we become independent, we're going to have to cover all of those services that the federal government covers for us. And with 5 million people paying for all of that, it's going to cost us some money. So there's a problem there, right?
Yeah, and we already can't with the help that we're getting. The government isn't funding our healthcare. Can you imagine without that money?
Right. Well, they would argue that they'd have 86 or 26 billion more dollars that they could put into healthcare. Except they're putting money into healthcare. They've actually doubled the money that they put into healthcare almost in the last year and a half. But it's all going to admin. It's not going to where it needs to go. So that's what the problem is, right?
Hmm.
If they need to have a plan on spending it where it needs to be.
Yes.
And yeah, anyway, back to this
Okay.
support for independence. So they say an independent Alberta would be committed to sustainability and protecting the environment, but not through federal policies that hurt the economy and with no demonstrated environmental benefits. I think here that they were upset with the fact that of the carbon tax, and like we said earlier about taxing the big oil refineries and stuff to take and lower the
Yeah.
carbon output and the tailing
Well,
ponds and stuff. So
it goes back to what I wrote about with the great deregulation purge that happened when she got
yeah,
rid of 220,000 regulations. It's all
yeah,
part of that.
all part of that. And then this one is interesting because a lot of this stuff dovetails with the Free Alberta strategy written by Rob Anderson, who was Danielle Smith's
Chief of staff.
CEO, right?
Yeah. And now
Right. So
chief
having
of
more
staff.
control over policing. Now
Yep.
chief of staff. That's okay. Yeah, no, it's CEO, right? Chief of staff, COS. So having more control over policing could allow Alberta to create more policies to improve public safety in both rural and urban areas. They already have control over policing, and they've actually started their own Alberta Police Service and have
Even
a
though
police that they've hired,
even though we said no.
even though we've said no. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And they
Um,
don't have the same training that the RCMP have. Like it's a much lower tier of training. So there's some issues around that. But they're
yep.
looking at, and the RCMP too is subsidized by the federal government. They actually pay, I think it's 30% of the RCMP costs
Yep.
to Alberta to cover that. And we will lose that if we get rid of them.
Well, we'll lose the RCMP because the RCMP is part of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. Like,
Right. And I like having them here in Alberta because they give us some oversight of somebody that is not entrained in the government, right? Like they're not part of the government. When you
yep.
look at who Danielle Smith has as her deputy minister, former David McPhee, right? So
Yep.
police officer there, police officer running the Alberta Provincial Police Service. They've also got a police officer that's part of the a deputy minister for the preventative care
Hmm.
is a police officer as well. And they've got another person that they just brought in to go into executive council. So, but I like having an outside force that's available to oversee things and see if there's problems, which
Well,
we
and
really
I
need
mean,
now.
right now she's already centralized all control. So we don't have guardrails. Like well, we
Oh,
do. Our courts and the RCMP. That's our guardrails right now. And those are both up for grabs on this referendum coming up in October.
yeah.
Our
So,
last guardrails, guys.
yeah, we need to pay attention for sure. Okay. And then just that the wrap up that they believe Albertans should have more control over decisions that shape their lives. Well, I don't have any control over my decisions right now because Daniel Smith doesn't listen to people. People have phoned, they've written, they've emailed, they've tried knocking on the door at their MLA, and they just keep doing what they're doing. An example is that daylight savings time change. We had a referendum a few years ago and said, no, we didn't want it to be permanent daylight savings time. And she's just decided that that's what it's going to be.
Well, it's the same thing
So,
as the police force.
right?
The province of Alberta made it abundantly clear that we did not want another police force. And instead, she's bringing in her version of ICE. My opinion, of course.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
I hear what
Bullshit.
you're saying. Bullshit. I have to get some water so we can hydrate ourselves with this.
Yes.
So talking about Alberta's economic powerhouse, so why Alberta's wealth belongs to Albertans. This has been the case since Peter Lougheed blocked Trudeau, Pierre Trudeau Sr., right,
Mhm.
from being able to create a Canada-wide energy policy. So this is what they're saying. We send them 20 billion per year in net fiscal transfers. If this is from the oil and gas industry, it is not the government that's sending it. It's the oil and gas industry that's sending it.
Yeah. But,
Right?
manipulation's a good thing, apparently.
Right. Right. Well, people will believe what they believe.
Yeah, it's
The other
true.
piece is our GDP is 430 billion. We are not even close to being at the same level as Ontario is. Although they keep saying that Alberta has done is what Canada relies on to be successful. It is not true, right? And they're not using us to be successful.
No.
We're just putting in what every other province is putting in to it
Based off
at
of
the level
our
that we,
income,
yeah,
our individual
yeah,
income tax.
exactly. So it's very super interesting to me that they've got this going on. And then this quote, Alberta built Canada. Now it's time Alberta built itself.
What?
It's right there. Can you see it?
Yeah,
North and
I can
Ridge.
see it, but they do realize that Alberta was one of the last provinces to be inducted into Canada, right?
Right? Yep. Well,
I,
I don't know that they do. I seriously have no idea that they do.
oh
Um,
my God. Ugh.
but it's hubris. Like we think that we're so much better than everybody else and that we've
Hmm.
been taken advantage of,
Yeah.
and it's not.
Well, that's that whole manipulation thing that when I did my project 2025 comparison with the um Rob Anderson's paper. I can't think, what is the name of it again? Alberta Prosperity.
Free Alberta strategy.
Free Alberta Strategy, that's it.
Yeah.
When I did my comparison to it, it's all part of the grift. Like,
Yeah.
anyway,
100%.
okay.
And I wanted to look up what a federalist democracy is because that's what Canada basically is.
Yeah,
And
it is.
so the fundamental basis it was and remains the need to reconcile balance and accommodate diversity because every province has different needs, different populations, right? And so to be able to do that, and it's generally agreed that the following characteristics are among those shared by states, provinces, the federal system of government. So at least two orders of government. In Canada, we've got three.
Hmm.
Here's our civics lesson, right? We've got the federal, we've got the provincial, and we've got the municipal. And it's
And
funny to me that
all three, sorry to interrupt there, Tammy, but all three have their own responsibilities.
right?
Okay, anyway, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, the thing that really gets me is she complains about the federal government overstepping into provincial areas when they are overstepping into municipal areas every day. I
Yeah,
mean, they
but
cut photo radar. People have been dying on the streets in cities and stuff because people are speeding. In my area, they're putting in all those cement
speed bumps.
thingies to do it. And then they've got the little speed bumps and all these things to try and mitigate people speeding because we can't do photo radar anymore. It's crazy.
I know.
What else? There's a few other things that they've done. Oh, bike lanes are a big issue right now. The Calgary Green Line that they got involved with, the
Yeah.
book banning in public libraries, which is a municipal area.
Okay,
Like all of those things are overstepping.
but see, here's the problem is that again, the Executive Council over the last 3 years has centralized all control of the province under the Executive Council. So
I know.
really, municipalities don't have that lane anymore. She's taken it. They are
Yeah.
just simply figureheads on a paper. That's it,
Yeah. I totally get, and but the fact that they're claiming that the federal government's overstepping into their stuff, but they've gigantically taken all that power away from municipalities.
right?
That's the issue, right? And Albertans need to be aware of that because it's a big one.
Well, especially
So
because she keeps going on about how Ottawa has centralized all control. It's projection. I mean, it's the same thing as what Trump says. Oh, we're at our golden age and people are freaking starving on the street. Like, it's
yeah,
projection, people.
yes, totally. So the other piece is that division of powers between the orders of government defined in the Constitution, and we've got that Constitution, and that's kind of what is holding her in check, especially with the judges and the police, right? Or the RCMP, not just the general police. A division of revenue sources to ensure each order of government has certain areas of autonomy. That's also set out in the Constitution. So Alberta does have healthcare is an Alberta-ish thing. Post-secondary education is Alberta, although the federal government contributes to it. Education is Alberta. Healthcare is Alberta. Like those are all issues that Alberta has to deal with, right? We decide which roads we're going to build.
Well, and here's the other part of that too, Tammy, is, this is where I go back to my Oklahoma comparison all the time because we used to have, public utilities. We used to have, public registries. We used to have, all this stuff. They just keep selling off our publics. The only thing, two things that we have left are education and healthcare, and she's trying to get rid of both, which is exactly what they did in Oklahoma.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. And it's for profit. The people
It's
that
for
buy it
profit.
end up making money. And we made money when we owned it because we used to have our own telephone,
Hmm.
right? We had our own electrical system was owned by Albertans.
Yep.
And yet we sold that all off.
Yeah.
Ah, so now I'm depressed.
No, we can't get
So,
depressed. We can't.
okay, I'm not, no, we're not depressed. We just have to keep moving
Yep, we do.
because the only time that they win is if we stop
That's right.
fighting back and telling people what's happening.
And explaining truth. Like
Explaining.
the misrepresentation of things that are being said is incredible. Like I can't I go into her thing every day on LinkedIn and trying to explain like actual policies to people and the attacks and whatever. We won't go there. But I mean, it's crazy because people have honestly they I don't know whether it's brainwashing or whether it's just refusal to look at other parties or what, but if you hold the government accountable, you need to hold the whole every single piece of it accountable.
Yeah, no, I get that. I think one of the secret powers is like they tap into people's emotional core
Hmm.
somehow. And then people don't think or don't understand the whole policy piece of it, and they're
Yep.
just reacting instead of responding.
Yep. It's
And if people want to
manipulation.
check it out, Linda's often on LinkedIn under Danielle Smith's profile. You guys can go in and check it out and see what her comments are and be able
Prove
to
me wrong if I'm
help.
wrong. Prove me wrong
Yeah,
if I'm wrong. I have no problems admitting that I'm wrong if I'm wrong,
yeah,
but you got to prove it.
yeah. No, absolutely. All right. So they state in here that Alberta created all the wealth for Canada. And actually, Alberta comes in third for wealth creation in Canada compared to the other GDP of the other provinces.
Yep.
So there's
Not
that.
number one. We're not the one taking care of everybody, but okay.
We're not. Okay. So then they talk about the land resources and sovereignty. So we have a natural inheritance. We have oil sands that give out 165 billion barrels of proven reserves. They're wanting to double that, I think, if I remember rightly from what I've heard. And that's why they want the pipelines to be built. We have 21 million hectares of farmland and agriculture. A reminder here that we at once owned the United Grain Growers of Canada as a Canada entity.
Hmm.
And Stephen Harper chose to sell that off to Saudi Arabia, even though there were Alberta farmers and farmers that wanted to buy it as a cooperative. So there's that.
Yep.
And we
Sold
also
off
have
another
forestry.
private for profit.
Yeah, yeah. So in 381,000 square kilometers of boreal forest that they think they can harvest.
Okay.
Okay. And then they go on to talk about federal emission caps. Um, they don't take that federal government doesn't take into account the distinct landscapes of each province. They actually do. Alberta didn't own its natural resources until I think it was like 1965 that there was a transfer
I believe
where
you're right. Yeah.
they were able to own them and develop them without interference from the federal government.
Yeah.
So, and they didn't discover oil and stuff until later on, like 1969 or something.
Hmm.
So there's that. But this is interesting to me, is a proposal is outlined in the Value of Freedom document, pages 23 to 25, about their potential environmental strategy. So let's just go over here. Did it
Page
switch?
23 and 25.
Page 23 and 25. And so this was developed by, I did write his name down, Dennis Kalma authored this and said this is what they would like to, this is our tax rates, how it would change if we separated, page 22. So this
Hmm.
is a 23 and 25, right? Non-cultivated land and natural resource, how, what the definition is, what the area is, what the context is, and what they would do in order for them to make sure that they're managing it appropriately. Carbon strategy.
Okay.
And then here's some calculations that he put together.
Hmm.
Oops. The carbon strategy, because 2 tons of carbon per year, per hectare per year.
So we'll
And then
need to fact check that.
we will go in and do that, but
Yeah.
not today.
Not today. Sorry, guys. There's so much that we've got going on, but we do, or if somebody out there wants to fact check it, by all means, and then just let us know. That would be great.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
So anyway, there's some data there. And data is always convincing to people, right?
Hmm.
When somebody sees something like that, then it's like, oh, okay, well, they guys have thought this out. I
Yeah.
believe what they're saying.
Yeah.
They look like they know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
So that's why it's so important that we keep fact checking and looking at policy when we're doing that piece of it. Okay, chapter 3, governing ourselves. So they give us some facts here. How many people live in Alberta at the time, how many elected MLAs they are when it was founded. And they claim here an independent Alberta would establish its own constitution. And they actually have come up with a framework for a constitution and have put that out there and then got in a lot of trouble
Yep.
because somebody said something fairly racist at the unveiling of that constitution.
Yep.
So I haven't seen it yet.
I mean,
Set its own laws from federal overreach on energy, agriculture, and social policy. So really tapping into that agriculture rural community
hmm
with
which is
this
what we've been saying from the
document.
beginning, that they're going after the rural people, rural and seniors.
Mhm. Right. Well, they've got booklets that cover everybody, even Asian ADAPT people, which we'll do it at another date. And look at what the difference is, what they're putting there.
Hmm.
Here's another picture. Kelly's too bad. She would have loved this.
Yeah, she would have loved that one. Yeah. Oh, by the way, guys, Melly had some technical issues, so she wasn't able to come back. I apologize, Melly. Wish you were here. Love you. Just wanted to throw it out there.
Absolutely. So this is the vision for tomorrow. So kind of the vision statement. So their economic freedom is keeping Alberta's wealth in Alberta. Elect leaders who answer to Albertans. I'd be so happy to see that one manifested
Oh
because
yeah.
right now that is not happening, in my
Nope.
opinion.
Nope.
And cultural pride, celebrate the Alberta way of life. And
So
I don't
what
really
is the
understand.
Alberta way of life?
I don't know.
What is the Alberta way of life? Because the Alberta way of life that I know it, Tammy, is the fact that we work hard, we're
Hmm.
honest, we're
Right.
transparent, we're kind, we're caring, and none of this so far is showing that Alberta that I know.
No.
It's
And
like candy coated rocks. Looks sweet on the
right.
outside and will break your teeth on the inside. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, and I see it too as a community building thing and supporting families, right?
Yeah.
And having healthcare, the right healthcare when you need it, having good public education so that your kids are getting the education that they need and they become thinkers and right and be able to reflect on things.
Yeah. And I mean,
And this I don't recognize.
we I don't recognize I do not recognize what they're trying to do. I mean, I look at the LGBTQ community, what right does somebody else have to say what somebody else can do with their love life? Like, really?
Yeah.
I mean, and you're saying that you want to have more freedom? How is that giving people freedom? You know, they're
Yeah.
taking away the funding for the education. What is it? 70% of Alberta's education budget goes to private schools or charter.
And not 70% per se, but charter private schools get 70% the funding that a Alberta public student would get.
Yes.
And charter schools get 100% of the
Yep.
funding that a public school student would get. And they're now starting to build buildings
Yes.
for
And
private and
in
charter schools.
in one of the bills that she just put through, with that, she's able to the government builds the buildings and then they have the right to contract them out to who they want to contract them out to. It's not guaranteed public education.
You know, they
So
did the
when
same
she's
thing to healthcare in 2024.
Yeah, and so when she continues to
So
say, oh, I'm putting all this money into education, oh, I'm putting all this money into healthcare, she's not. It's putting money into schools that they will control,
yes. And it
not
seems to be control is
public.
the big thing, right?
Oh, control is definitely a big thing. They want to
Yeah.
say that you're free, but they want to. It is when you go back and you listen to all of the talk from COVID to now, they're all about freedom until but it's limiting other people's freedom, not their own.
Right.
So,
I'm just going to take a segue here into the COVID thing. I don't understand. They're still bent out of shape about not getting vaccinated and people pushing back against that. It's been 5 years,
and yet,
right?
and yet they'll wear masks to a white nationalist training thing out by Okotoks.
Yeah.
But, they couldn't wear a mask to save somebody else's life. Heaven forbid.
Yeah.
They couldn't breathe, but they'll wear a mask
Yeah.
when they want to cover up their identity.
Hmm.
Coward.
Yeah. I have a really, really hard time with that. Like at some point, when are you going to let this go? It's past. You can't go back and change it. She's apologized. She's called you the most discriminated group ever in history. Like, I don't think you can get much, much more than that. I'm sorry, I
Oh,
can't even thank you. I,
my goodness, the entitlement. Mm, mm, mm.
yeah. Oh
All
well.
right. Let's keep
Carry
busting
on.
through this.
Okay, so the economic freedom piece is really interesting about keeping Alberta's wealth in Alberta. This government has 18, at least 18, there might be more now. I have to go back and check. Foreign offices in other countries in the United States, hosted by Canadian embassies,
Taxpayer money.
taxpayer money to take and promote Alberta, and for her MLAs to travel to all these very unique places like Japan and Korea, South Korea, sorry, not North Korea,
And
South
and
Korea,
and
Europe.
for those of you who would be interested in looking at some of those totals, I did an audit back in January. It's on my Substack, Linda Walker Writes. Have a look. Tell me what you think. You
Yep,
get to see all of that money, and it's
a lot.
not accounted for.
Yeah, no, 100%. All right, legal or possible. So here they go into Canada's Supreme Court has recognized that a province has the right to explore independence through a democratic referendum process. It means that Alberta can have discussions, debate the idea, and vote on it through established constitutional and democratic processes. They also need to consult with First Nations. Treaties 6, 7, and 8, and then some of Treaty 4 is in Alberta.
Section
So,
35 is the thing that's going to stop all of that. But, I don't know what I'm talking about.
yeah, no, I hear you. So it's important that they keep saying that what they want you to do is vote yes or vote for number 2 so that you can send a message to Canada that you want to have a referendum. And I heard today that she said that she would have the referendum next spring in 2027 before the next election if they get enough votes for this referendum to have a referendum.
But she can't, can she? Because didn't she pass a law recently that number one, she controls referendums. So you can do a referendum and it can just sit for God only knows how long. And number two,
Mhm.
you can't hold a referendum a year before or a year after elections, right? Is it a year before or a year?
I
No,
think,
yes, it is. It's a year before and
yeah.
a year after elections. So that takes out two
Okay, so
years out of the four.
but what it really pertains to that stuff is citizen initiative and recalls. I think referendums are I think referendums, she does have that right to do that. The thing that worries me is how are you going to consult with the First Nations? What does that look like? And
Well,
what is that going to mean in this to have this happen?
they're not
But
going
here it
to.
says that knowing that a second binding referendum would not take place for a couple of years, but yet she's announced it on Western Standard today that she would hold it in the spring if they got enough. But the courts have not yet decided if that question was legal.
It's not. There's no way it's legal because anyway, sorry.
Yeah. No,
Section
I'm just saying this
35,
is,
that Section 35 wipes all of that, what she's saying. And that is a constitutional, thing. Like we cannot, mind you, almost all these questions that she's asking are constitutional issues. So
yeah, people have to get out and vote. That's I think the big message that we need to keep pushing is that you need to get out and vote because not voting, separatists, the Alberta Prosperity people, they will be out voting. So you
mhm.
can order your ballot and we can give you that information.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, equalization. So Alberta is a net contributor to the current federal fiscal system, meaning that it pays far more money than it gets back in federal transfers. So here it shows we paid 68 billion and we get back 22 billion. So if we separate, it means that Alberta would no longer receive federal transfer payments. However, if our tax system remained the same, we'd have 68 billion more that we could play with per year. That would easily cover current provincial costs, according to the authors of this,
Hmm.
right? So an independent Alberta would not have to make equalization payments anymore or other federal payments. Once again, Alberta does not pay equalization payments.
And not only that, but
The federal
so
government.
correct me if I'm wrong on this. So from what I'm seeing from this, they're trying to say that you're no longer going to have to pay taxes, right?
Not as many taxes. is what
Uh,
from my understanding, that you won't have to
okay.
pay as much in taxes that you pay
So
for the federal
pay
government.
you pay less taxes and you're going to get more services. Is that what they're trying to hint at?
Mhm.
Hmm.
I think so.
And how is that, a net sum? Anyway. Okay.
I I don't know what it's going to end up looking like, but I mean, this is how they hook people in. And people I don't think realize that when they pay their federal taxes, a third of that is Alberta taxes,
Hmm.
right?
Yep.
It's not just all going to the federal government. And when
Yeah.
you pay your municipal taxes, a third of that is
Goes to
education
provincial. Yeah.
taxes to provincial.
Yep. Provincial for education taxes. Yep.
Yeah. So we're not, oh, I really like if we did a cost basis analysis of what you pay and what you get compared to if you had to pay private health insurance and all those other things, I think that people would realize they come out ahead. All right, let's go on to healthcare, our favorite topic.
Aha.
So here, see, they say earlier they were saying that we'd like to have more say in funding healthcare and where healthcare money is going. Here they say is healthcare is already largely managed and funded within Alberta. It is completely managed
It
in
is
Alberta.
completely
So this is
managed.
bullshit.
The federal health transfer is amount of money that the federal government gives the province per person for healthcare. That's what the
Hmm.
health transfer is. That's what we pay taxes for, right? To
Right.
manage our healthcare.
Yeah.
So, um,
Uh-huh.
okay, keep
They
going.
do have, and so I was going to say they do have the Healthcare Act, right? That provinces have to ensure that people have access to healthcare at that level. So
We don't
some
have access
provinces,
to
Ontario,
we don't have
we
access to
don't.
healthcare now. Look at YYC and the Frazzle
Frazzle
Heads.
head?
Yeah,
Yeah,
like how
yeah,
many of your rural hospitals are closed?
a
But
lot.
yet, you know,
ER. Yeah,
Danielle's
yeah.
doing such a great job with healthcare when she manages the finances for it. She's given the
Right?
money for it. We paid our taxes for it. But,
But here's the thing, she's developed four separate entities that have a separate level, right, of
mhm.
administration
Yep.
with deputy ministers making 300,000 plus a year. That could hire a lot more nurses and stuff for the system. They've canceled building South Alberta Edmonton Hospital. They don't have enough beds. They have not built enough beds for senior citizens or built the capacity out in the outside environment to be able for people to stay home and have someone come in and help them so that they could still be independent.
Oh, but they have
Um,
bought they've
so
built on for that. What they've done instead is they've built these condominiums that you can now pay out of your pocket to if you're 55 or older, you can pay out of your pocket and have live in an apartment that has access to healthcare instead of but you have to pay for it. It's not covered,
not free. No. Oh,
but
I was thinking where you were going with this was those ones where they had seniors buy that life lease,
hmm
and then the people that built those life lease apartments walked away, and people families can't even sue to get their money back now.
that's right. That's another one. Yep.
That's where I thought you were going. That one, I was
That
like,
that's definitely another one. Yeah. But I mean it's all just part of the grift. But anyway, okay, let's keep
yeah,
going.
allegedly. Oh, and then
Allegedly.
look, allegedly, coverage. We want to take and provide free pharmacare and dental care for 1.5 million children, retirees, and low-income people.
So why don't you
Um,
do it now?
didn't the federal government offer us pharmacare for
They
some of the
did.
drugs to cover that?
Yeah,
And
and then
dental care we have?
yeah, and our provincial government said no.
Yeah,
Daniel Smith said no. But now you're wanting to use it again. And we could have
yeah,
had that.
absolutely. So a lot of this is bullshit again,
Bullshit, allegedly.
allegedly. Okay, now look at this. Isn't this nice? A TP, First Nations, rancher on a horse, family in a canola field, and technology.
Mm.
Technology is a big, big push for these guys.
And look, they're
So
all white,
they're all white.
except for the
Yeah.
First Nation TP that they don't want to consult or talk with or deal with,
Yeah.
but and say some horrible fucking things about. But you know,
I hear you. Yep. But look here, we've got Alberta is home to 45 plus Indigenous nations and communities. And there's over 200 languages spoken across the province.
and none of those Indigenous nations and communities want to be a part of anything that has to do with separation.
That's
Period.
correct.
There's
Period.
court case after court case after court case after court case about it.
But do you think these images would give people the impression that First Nations would like to
Yep,
support
absolutely it
the
does.
Alberta
Or
Pension
that,
Project? Or
yeah,
yeah,
or that they're actually trying to work with them.
yeah,
It looks like it. If I didn't know any better, yeah, it looks like they're trying. But I mean, anybody who's listened to Jeffrey Rath talk,
right. Uh,
that's Alberta's finest there, right there. Let me tell you.
being sued by the First Nations for mismanaging the money that was in his care, right? And then the third one in that group is Dennis Modry. And this is interesting because people that say that she is not the Prosperity Project is not connected with her. Prosperity Project, when she was first elected, they asked her what her backup plan was, and she said, "My backup plan is Dennis Modry and the Alberta Prosperity Project. He has more than 1 million people in his network, and that is what we're going to use to force this government, right, to do that sovereign nation within a United Canada
Yeah,
thing."
she did say that.
And Dennis Modry has been found guilty of stealing $1.3 million from his relatives who had dementia. One had dementia, one had Alzheimer's, and he is told to pay it back. And prior to that, he had got a judgment against him for $1.6 million that he allegedly took from a group of doctors that he was working with. So these are the people behind the Alberta Prosperity Project that we are going to be trusting to
To
show
make
us
a
the way
country.
to separate.
To make a
Yeah,
country.
that's what I'm going to say. All right.
Okay,
So it
wait,
says
hold
Alberta
on.
independence in no
Yeah,
way.
go. Let's finish with this, and
Okay.
then we've got about a minute and a half left. So let's go ahead and finish this page, and then we're going to do a part three, guys. So go ahead, Tammy.
Part three. I'm sorry it's so long. We keep putting these other pieces in there, but all of this is connected. It
Yeah,
really
it
is.
really is.
Okay. So they're saying federal policies have often failed Indigenous peoples and have intentionally created ongoing dependence on the federal government. They've got a lawyer, Leighton Gray,
Mm-hmm.
who talks a lot about this. So they're saying Alberta independence in no way intends to diminish the rights of Indigenous people. So they're trying to hook us in with that. And our next one is the big question. So I'm going to stop there because I don't want to go over.
Yep. Okay, guys. So we'll
Part
be right
three.
back with part three. Stay tuned. Bye, guys.